the two bigger parties?
Um,
Because then this wouldn't have happened.
I don't know, you know. I don't know because I think it's about.
Because you
It's
had little
about.
extra breathing room. You had the four smaller parties with no extra breathing
Yeah,
room
yeah,
at
yeah.
all.
But you know, I said this as well. Extra breathing room doesn't ever matter. My father's cabinet had a 10-seat majority back in them in parliament, and that still collapsed. It's about characters and personalities. And until we get away from that, until we start to elect persons of good character who are, you can tell, because let's face it, I think you can sense already when people are there for their own reasons and when they're there for the people. No matter what they say, they can parrot the words, they can say the words, but it's behind their eyes, it's just nada.
Right.
And I think until we get away from the types of characters and the types of personalities that we've been electing, it doesn't really matter what the majority is. Because people were saying that too. They were like, yeah, it was only 8 seats. Great. That cabinet in 2015 had 10 seats back in it in parliament.
So that didn't work.
I think it's and even too, if I look at ourselves over the first term, and we've said it publicly, persons were coming to us by 2021, 2022. Persons were approaching us to throw down that government. Not themselves directly, so not politicians directly, none of the ministers, none of the MPs, but their agents, I should say, were reaching out to myself. They were reaching out to MP Peterson, even to my dad. You know, as to go as far as that, to say you gotta convince Melissa and he was like, have you met her? Like I don't know if you've met her, but and so I think for us holding that door shut and recognizing that, you know, the country's in a fragile state, it needs the stability, even if we were not happy with many of the decisions taken in several ministries in that government. We tried to do our job as parliament and hold them accountable for it. And I think we did a good job of that, of setting that tone. We didn't try to fire nobody. We didn't try to throw down the government. It was literally just, no, that was wrong, and this is how it should be done. And now you have to do it. And I think that too is about personalities. Because if I had personalities like some of the persons in there now, I could have dropped government, but I didn't. And that goes for the person that went independent and the persons that convinced him to go independent, which is the two largest parties. Because I have never been comfortable just blaming the jumper. People don't jump into the water if there's not a lifeboat somewhere to catch them. So I think that's also important to remember.
Okay, we've got many issues. GEBE, TALM, the medical center, our educational system, housing, schools, rebuilding of our schools. What are your main concerns?
GB, of course, is a big concern. I think, especially the last few days, as they work on whatever two engines they've been working on, I think 17 and 18, I think it is approaching a point of, at this point, it's not even just about the lights being off, it's about what I've said before, which is just cascading issues, so they trickle down. GB starts to have issues, telecom starts to have issues. I know Telem and Flow are probably losing their mind because the sites, I always say our sites, but I don't work there anymore, guys. The sites are not, they have generators, but they're not meant to go through this type of flip-flop. Power here, no power, generator on, generator off, generator on, generator off. It fries out equipment. At the end of the day, these are electronics we're talking about. But further to that, I think about the loss of productivity. Persons not being able to sleep because it's too hot. Persons, their children not being able to sleep, so they're up because their kids aren't sleeping. So then at the banks, you have dropped in productivity. At the supermarkets, at the hospital, at wherever, everybody is moving sluggish, they're moving slow. Even if you want to correlate it back to tourism, I think about the fact that you got waiters and waitresses that are not sleeping properly. Maybe their customer service is not on point because they're frustrated and they're aggravated. So all of that is it's a total overall crisis, and that is a concern that we're looking at, especially from the perspective of the portfolio that Minister Gums holds, which is VRAMI. Because, you know, looking at the grid itself, and this is something that, you know, we've talked to certain engineers about, that I think we also have to start decentralizing a bit when it comes to GB. I would have rather they take that land in Hopi State and maybe built a substation to split the grid so that we don't end up with everything in KB, just a match in KB, and it's just chaos. You know, you have to kind of divide up your resources and your assets like that, So that's what I would have done, or at least pushed for, and that's something that I think behind the scenes too we're advocating for.
So I think there should be greater importance and awareness for voters to understand that they are in power, and the you should look at it as your vote as a powerful tool. So, for instance, if you own an airline company and you are the CEO of that airline company and you have a decision to make, and you have to hire a pilot to fly 700 souls from St. Martin to the Netherlands and from Netherlands to back, and you're looking at individuals that you want to fly your plane, and you have someone that has experience, that has integrity and values, but they're not popular. The population doesn't see the passengers doesn't see them as a popular choice to go and fly that plane. Then you have a next person, a pilot, who's very popular, but they don't have the experience, but everyone likes them, and you have the power to hire someone that's going to fly your plane from point A to point B safely. And we have to look at the country like that. We are going on a 4 year journey with government, and you have to elect people that are going to do the job to the best of their capabilities, that have values and morals and principles. And you have to choose the right person for that job. You don't choose, your brother, your sister, a family member,
Who's
or
not
a
qualified?
constituent who
Yeah,
is not qualified.
yeah. The
But
nepotism has
oftentimes,
got to stop.
exactly, and oftentimes we see a lot of characteristics that have a lot of charisma, and people like them. But we have to move away from this culture of popularity to a culture of
They need to be
integrity.
able to do the job.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Simple.
it doesn't matter how popular they are, So you have that powerful tool, and you are actually the CEO. You are in charge, not that person. That person is doing your job. So you have to make sure that you select the right person, because if that plane crashes and those 700 souls lose their life, you had something to do with it. But if that plane arrives to the destination, you have something to do with it as well. So all of us are in it together. So we have to make that decision and go out there and vote for the right person to be in there.
I know why I declined my offers and the invitations at the time. I just explained. I didn't find I would be doing it for the right reasons at that time. Um, but that was my filtering process. I can't knock anyone else for not having the same or having a different filtering process. I just think at the end of the day, if you really, really and truly believe that you're what is right for the country, and you have the right mindset and the right reasons and you come with the right baggage to unpack. If you come with an empty bag, if I bring you an empty bag, you have no clothes to wear.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you have something in that bag that could be of use to people, and you're doing it for the right reasons, and you take the time to read up and immerse yourself, then yeah, do it, because at the end of the day, you don't need a master's or PhD. You shouldn't only need a master's or PhD degree to become a politician. But you need to bring something to the table, in my estimation. And it helps if you have some kind of background, whether it's by trade or by the theoretical route, or experience. Because you have some people right now in high positions that don't necessarily have the diploma, but they have that knowledge. So I'm not the first person to say, oh, you don't have a diploma, so you shouldn't be here,
Right.
But come for the right reasons and have something to offer. That's what I think. And one a couple of us could say, a couple of figures right now are questionable. But hey, at the end of the day, people say, hey, why should this person be allowed to run? And I always say, no, that's not a question you should ask. You should ask, why does that party accept them on their list? Because that person running reflects what the party thinks. Okay? So that's the question we should start asking ourselves, and hold not only the person accountable, but also the necessary parties. So yeah, that's my thought on the current climate when it comes to 20 parties running, and figures from all across the globe.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
What do you think about the changing of allegiance? You start with one. And the other question I have is that when you talk about your jumping, you know, if you did elect yourself, you need to leave that sit behind. I'm not saying we can't move on because you're not in correlation with, their views or their politics or, what they stand for, but just leave it behind. Uh, Leave that seat behind for somebody else to take up, the mantle.
You see, we're looking at seats, and I think if we're merely looking at the seat point, we're already lost. We're already missing the boat, because right now, to me, switching parties is almost just as bad as
Jumping ship.
jumping ship, because literally the only difference is when you jump ship is after you're elected. What about before you're elected?
Exactly.
So if you have a
Exactly.
history of going from one party to the next for whatever reasons, like for example, if I look at myself, a lot of people ask me, there initially, why go on that list? Because it's a very top-heavy list. You have people with 800 votes, 500 votes, 700 votes. How do you fit on that list? And I'm like, I'm not looking to see how I fit votes-wise. I look to see how I fit with what I can offer the list and what I can bring to the list, and where I see the list potentially going. And then, elections came. I had a very positive result, although not elected. It was still, and I'm
Yes,
very
you had a
grateful
good turnout, yes.
for my turnout.
Yes.
And after that, is when you start getting attention from the other parties. Come by us, because the inconvenient truth of the story
Yeah.
was, if had those numbers on almost any other party, I would have been elected today.
Yes, yes.
To have those in office right now that got less votes than me. So I remember the other day we were at a function, an NA function, and a staunch NA supporter came up to me and they were like, Daryl, I really thought you were not going to be here this time. I'm like, why? Because literally what you got, you could have been in, and if you stay with that same number, the chances is the same thing going to happen again. So in your best interest, it would have been best for you to leave. And I'm like, I didn't come here to leave at all. I came here for I see the party is going, and the party is going. And I'm still contributing towards that, whether or not I'm in office or not. And you shouldn't just leave because of opportunity. Because you came to the party because you saw the party as a opportunity for the country to move forward. So that because you're not elected, that doesn't mean the country can't move forward.
Right.
So the fact that I'm still here, I always say, the other day people was asking me, like, if I vote for you, what surety do I have that you're not going to jump? I said, basically, if I would have jumped, I wouldn't be wearing this white shirt right now, today, So if I didn't do it now, I'm going to do it later.
Your social and health insurance is your social and health insurance.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
Your social and health insurance.
The diversification of the economy. Other people don't want to deal with it. I'm going to deal with it. I am going to push as hard as I humanly can to legalize cannabis to ensure that we have a structured income through that industry. It's $1 trillion industry. Super. If we can just get a dig in, we will have enough money to do agriculture to create food sustainability. And at the same time, we legalize the illegal right now. We put young men that are sitting, I don't even want to say they're sitting on the block, they're not working, or they don't have enough work, that they can then, what they have done when they were younger or still doing, they can now put it at a different level, at a professional level, where you have the growers, the distributors, the retailers, whatever. It is a big industry. It works well in other countries. Why can't we do it? We find 150 reasons not to do it, but we won't find one reason to do it. And I'm saying we gotta change. The same goes for seniors. We keep saying we cannot not tax the seniors. And my question is why? Because somebody says so. But when we had to give in 25%, it happened overnight in a vote in Parliament. So I'm saying we need to stop saying no to everything and start saying, yes, it can. Yes, we can. Obama did it well. It gave him 2 president terms.
Right.
All with, yes, we can. And yes, we can stop taxing seniors. We really, really can if we have the desire to help them. And I'm saying too many seniors are struggling. Cost of living keeps rising. Fuel keeps rising. Go into the supermarkets, you see certain supermarkets didn't even have fresh meat. Containers in reach. And containers only getting more expensive now.
Yeah.
Container from China is now $9,000, $10,000.
Yeah.
It used to be $4,000 or $5,000. So again, everything is going to climb. GB is going through the roof because fuel clause is going to continue to rise. As long as we have all the uncertainties in the Middle East, fuel will continue to rise. And as long as that is rising, and we refuse, because that's the only word I can use moving forward, we are refusing to address the green energy syndrome. We are refusing to say, let me go with solar panels. Holland offered 60 million to do green energy. Our Prime Minister said, well, right now I gotta buy engines. Well, not my money. And we're gonna find a consortium to go borrow 40-something million for GB to buy engines. And I'm saying, but we must be the biggest idiots on this planet.
We had 60 million our last.
You understand? To do solar, to do wind, to do waste to energy, because all of those 3 are considered green energy. Only we, with this government, are saying no to it. The previous government ain't even talking about them because they got us in this darkness. That's why I love the meme that going around with candles and all the faces who put us there.
Yeah.
Because GB wasn't the best. But what we have today is sad. This is truly, truly sad.
Absolutely.
And again, you notice all this load shedding?
I realize
It's going to continue now.
Yeah.
Because they're having issues with other engines now. Other big engines seems to be giving issues. 17 and 18 seem to be giving an issue. Those are big engines. So while 19, you got to fix the crankshaft. And you get them back 10 megawatt to help with that. And you put back 8, you get 3. So only 4 we have to work on. And those the big companies were getting off. So we didn't have no more load shedding. We are load shedding every day. 2-3 times in districts.
Up to 3 hours per yeah.
Because they're having issues with other engines. Yet, we ain't talking about solar.
Yeah.
Yet, we ain't talking about waste energy. Yet, we ain't talking about green energy. Something is wrong.
Yeah. And what about the new containerized engines that are there?
Once they put them on, it's not going to stop the load shedding.
Right.
That's the problem. Because the amount of districts that they are putting out now per time is more than 10 megawatt.
Yeah.
Don't let nobody fool you.
Tell you.
It's more than 10 megawatt. So when 10 megawatt comes on, we still gonna be load shedding.
SXM, your social and health insurances. SXM, your social and health insurances.
Are you SZV insured? Do Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXV, yeah. Your social health insurances.
In that code of conduct, for example, something clear. What are the consequences for non-performing MPs? You understand? So, in fact, my recommendations to improve our democratic institutions has nothing to do with the law. It is compliance with the law. Procedures that are there, and comply them, apply them, and police them yourself. We don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. So oftentimes you say, yeah, but Parliament doesn't make laws. As I said, you don't make a law for your children of 5, 6, and 8 years that they have to be home at 12 if they're not going out anyhow. So inventarize and work on it. And ultimately, I think in a long list of recommendations that I could have, the high councils of state, the ombudsman, the general audit chamber, they are provided for in the constitution to assist Parliament with their job. Yeah? So the ombudsman looks at good governance, at propriety. How is government dealing with the citizens that the parliamentarians represent? So the reports of the ombudsman are reports to help Parliament, the MPs, do their job. The reports of the General Audit Chamber, they look at how government is spending the money, if they follow procedures, and they make reports. Parliament has to use those reports to assist them in doing their job. Those are some recommendations to improve our democratic institutions.
What would be the issues that you foresee that St. Martin would have to focus on for the next decade?
Based on the vision plan, look at that, what are priorities, but education, yes? Capacity building. We have a huge shortage of capacity. We have not focused and prioritized how we send our students away to study. So we have a void for certain functions, both in and outside government, yes? Whereby, yes, we can complain that, for example, foreigners coming in to do certain jobs, especially high-ranking jobs, but we did not consciously work on capacity building. So one of the very important things for the next decade is structurally and strategically work on your capacity for the country. I want to refer back again to the vision plan. You know, we make plans and they are papers in a desk. Why did we go about 2 years with help from abroad, spending a lot of money on a vision plan, and all that vision plan is doing sitting in desk? I would love to see campaign programs linked to that vision plan, because there is where we're looking at our long-term planning and strategy. So my issues for the next decade is get away from election to election. Let's look at long term. Things like investment climate, regional contact. We have to look at various ways to strengthen our regional contact rather than looking over the ocean to the European part of the kingdom. And in doing that, looking at our long-term strategies, we should keep keen eye on global developments because we all are experiencing how fast the world is changing.